Hi, Pat Battle back with part 2 of propagating from potted herbs. We just finished our savory. We're going to take them over to stage right. And then we're going to work with this big old oregano. And we'll see, we're going to be wrestling with this guy, I think. But there's potential for a huge amount of propagation from this. I don't know that we're going to do that much right now, but we'll show you the potential and then you can see where it can go from there. Okay? And the first one I was going to do, if I still see it here, well, I might bump into it. There was a branch that had fallen, had broken off that didn't have much, oh, here it is. This has got no potential for removing leaves. All the leaves are right up top, so there's going to be no new sites for it to root. But oregano, as is savory, is in the mint family, and they're famous for being able to root easily. So we're just going to gamble and toss it in here with those 2 little winter savories that we did as a root cutting in the last video. I'm going to take a deep hole because I want to get it in there really deep and slide it at an angle. I want to root as much of the stem as I can, giving it many chances to root along the stem. I'm going to push it down in a little bit, add some soil, and I'd say it's got a 50-50 chance, but for the amount of effort, well worth it. Okay, and then only one quick demo on the rooted cuttings, because we've done that a lot of times now. This one lends itself perfectly because there's a lot of growth at top, but there's one little bit of growth down low, and that is a place where it almost for certain will root. You want to be careful to snap it out rather than pull it down, because you might strip the bark if you try and pull it down. I'm going to take a few leaves off, and it's easier to cut them off here because they're on pretty tender new growth. So I'm just cutting this back a little bit to make it easier on the plant as it roots. I'm confident that this guy is going to root. Not as confident about the other one. I give this one probably a 90% chance of rooting. Once again, the same pot. I'm not going to take a lot of space up for these little cuttings. They're just resources to deal with sometime in June. You know, when there'll be small seedlings that I may give away or pop in someplace for farmscaping, or replace an herb that didn't do well, because all of the herbs here are in danger all the time because we live in such a wet climate, and these are Mediterranean plants. So anybody that's grown an herb garden knows that we can have years where almost all of our herbs just rot away. I've actually taken to putting lots of gravel and sand in my herb beds to try and get that to not happen. So there's our rooted cutting pot, and now we're going to look at dividing this monster here. If it wasn't so windy out, I'd definitely be doing this outside. But you wouldn't be able to hear me for all the wind noise. So we're just going to take a chance. I might need to do some vacuuming by the end of this. Here we go. Sorry for putting you on your head there, but I know you'll recover. So there's huge potential here. If you look at this, we can peel off so many pieces of rooted oregano here. And we'll just do a couple to show you. But that's not going to be a strong plant. That's going to take a while to develop because there's not a lot of root on this. But it's a sure thing. When you've got this much root, it's going to make it. Okay? And so we're going to do one pot with several of these in it. And they're all going to make it. And then you could let it be one nice big plant, or you could divide it again, depending on your needs. Okay? I'm going to drop a couple of tops here maybe to make it a little stronger. We'll see how well I do with that. I'm going to be a little rough because I think I can get away with it and get it done faster. There's a root mass. Kind of brutally done, but I think it's going to work. I'm going to pull this one off here. Nope, it wants to be attached to that. So I'm going to put it all. Make sure I bundle it up so the leaves are on top, the roots are on bottom. I'm going to pop it into the same pot and call that one pot. And you can see there's lots of roots. Some of this isn't as well rooted, but I bet you all of it makes it. And if you were into like certain success, you would have done like I did with the first one and teased off each little individual one with as much root as possible. But you might be in a hurry like I am. I got a lot more to do today. So I'm just going to go for it. And we'll get to check back and see how this bigger clump is doing. I'm certain of this one over here. I'm giving this my 75 to 80% chance of making it. And to up its odds a little bit, I'll do a little bit of leaf pruning here, but not much. And I'm kind of just cutting wherever I can here because I've made a tangle, and I don't want to have to try and suss it all out. One last little bit cutting right here. Going to gather all the leaf up and just cut the top off of a bunch of them. There. Now I've reduced the transpiration pressure a little bit. I don't think it's going to be problematic. I think it's going to work. Now we're going to look at actually like breaking out a piece of this. It's going to have dirt on it too, and that's going to be liable to do way better. And I said breaking, but I think actually cutting is going to work better for this. So I've just taken right here. This is one unit. You can make so many units from this, right? But there's one unit here that's pretty unto itself. I'm going to cut down and separate it from the rest of the plant, and then cut out away. And these guys are all running together, so if I tried to yank, I'd be doing damage to plants further on. So I'm just going to come through, take my sharper knife. This is an old kitchen knife, by the way. I wouldn't bring it back into the kitchen after cutting through dirt. This is my harvest knife, which I don't like to cut through dirt with if I can, because I want it to stay sharp. All right, I think I have a nice clump here with a lot of root. I feel one more big root in the back here that wants to stop me from getting this pulled off. And then over here, once again, it's wanting to tear up, and there's a big old attachment here. That's a lot of plant. That is definitely going to make a nice oregano, okay? I actually wish I had a bigger pot for this. We're going to make it work in here right now because I didn't anticipate needing such a big pot, which maybe I should have. I'm not doing as much justice to this by shoving it down in, but you know what? As long as those roots are in the ground and there's growth on top, it's going to be a healthy plant. And indeed, if you're really successful, you have more root than you have top. That's going to be a healthier plant. It can quickly, with photosynthesis, make lots of top. The root is where it's getting its water and soil nutrients from, and so that's a little dicier if there's not much root. There we go. Not a handsome looking plant. We could clean it up a little bit by taking off this extraneous growth. But that's just for the show. It's not important really. There we go. Now, you could actually, when you planted this out, if you left this guy, this long, kind of lonely orphan runner here, when you planted this out, you could actually bury this, and it would root all along the stem, probably put up new shoots, or at least make you a new plant over there. You could also cut it off because it's going to be in your way in the greenhouse. But I'm going to leave it, and maybe we'll do that, and in a future video show how well it worked. All right. You can actually also, let's say this was a clump outside, which there's a wonderful clump I'm going to get over to at the Veterans Healing Farm. John Massey at the Veterans Healing Farm has said I can come get all the starts I want. As you can see, there's a lot of plants in the center too. And the center will refill. So I'm going to go in and get one plant from the center. And actually, even though it looks pretty dense in here, there's not that much leaf growth. Plants tend to grow away from the center. They're going for space. But there's one guy here that I can go down in and get. And we're going to do that just to show you that you can get plants from every place on this nice big old potted oregano. This is Greek oregano, by the way. Greek oregano, for a lot of us, is the culinary oregano to grow because it has a really strong flavor that doesn't disappear. And I'm kind of just easing this out. I'm teasing it out. But then I could feel that if I keep trying to do that, it's going to, in fact, I thought I was teasing it out, and this can happen. Where I was pulling from wasn't where it actually was rooted from. So I've got to find my way to where the root is and then tease the soil, tease the plant out from there. Anyways, Greek oregano, very high in the volatile oils that give the flavor. It's hot to your taste. And it's the white flowered oregano. In my mind, it's the one to cook with. The pink flowered oregano is a great one for decorative herbs and for feeding the beneficial insects, but it kind of disappears when you cook. But everybody has their prejudices that way. And I just actually cut into the soil with my harvest knife in the thick of it. There we go. Didn't really get much soil, but I got plenty of roots on the stem. So this wasn't a successful pull from the center. But it'll still work. This will also make, though I'm going to cut a fair amount off the top of this because I don't have a lot of soil on the roots and it's going to be dicier. And then I'll probably, what I cut off, I'll go ahead and root it over on our rooted cutting pot. So that's not a successful plant attempt. I'd say that's probably still 60-70% chance of taking, but it's not going to be a big plant when it goes out. But to up its odds, we're going to remove this whole branch here, which is going to make a really nice cutting. I have to hold it in though because there's not a lot of roots. If I try to cut this, as I pulled on it, I would just yank it back out. Once again, nice little bit of growth down there where it'll for sure root from, a little bit more leaf right there where it'll for sure root from. I'm going to come right up here. This is right at the interface between the old growth and the new growth, and remove that leaf too. I'm going to bury it that deep, and then I'm going to remove a few of the big leaves here so that it doesn't have to work too hard while it's rerooting. And this is going to be a great cutting, and it's going to go in our little cutting pot here. Plants for sometime in June to give away or pop in where one died or start another little planting somewhere or stick out on the farm for farmscaping, which may never actually even be followed up on next year. I may actually just put this out as a sacrificed beneficial insect plant and not even keep track of it. So it may get knocked under as we do our no-till planting of cover crops and smothered and not have a future. Sorry plant, but sometimes it has to be that way. All right, so that's a way to propagate this. I could work on this and get you dozens of oregano plants from this. And I might well do that, but not right now because you'll be bored. Thanks a lot. Get out there and grow those herbs.